Hi, everybody. This is Tom Simmons back with the Priest in the Hot Seat podcast. I'm glad to be here with you today. You look out in the world, and where would you say the action is? To follow the news, it seems like Washington, D.C., right? I mean, politics. It's where all the action is. The Trump administration has five different things going on any given day, it seems. And I think that the busyness, the action, the whirlwind, the chaos of the modern world would have us believe that what matters most, where the action is really happening, is in politics. It's in media. It's in science. It's in social media influencers. That this is where the conversation is happening. This is where the action is. Publicity and advertising, trying to create buzz, trying to go viral, trying to sell you something. But I would like to say that, nah. The Feast of the Epiphany points us in a different direction. It shows us that the serious action is swirling around Jesus of Nazareth. Epiphany, that beautiful word means to manifest, to put on display. Today we'd call it advertising. And with the visit of the Magi, the three kings that came from the east bearing gifts for Jesus as a young boy, Jesus is advertised to the world. It wasn't an advertisement on a highway billboard, like when you're going down Route 95 looking for south of the border. It wasn't on a YouTube video advertising something. It wasn't during the Super Bowl game. This advertisement, the Magi advertisement, was written in the heavens. The Christmas star that led the Magi to the location of the recently born king. There's nothing better at the Super Bowl than a celebrity endorsement, right? Tom Brady shilling for Hertz. But Jesus literally has a star endorsing him, right? That star proclaimed, "Behold, the world's true ruler, born in Bethlehem." I'm pointing down, from the star down to the map, to the geography of the ancient Near East, to that little town of Bethlehem. Let's talk about that star and those Magi. Did you know that computers make it possible to observe and record the movement of stars and planets in the night sky? Computers have been doing this for many years, recording the movements of the stars in the night sky, that you can wind that forward. You can predict the location of constellations, of the movement of the planets. You can, of course, predict the coming of eclipses and comets. You can also rewind the tape back into the past and reconstruct astral arrangements in the sky on any date in history. It's really a remarkable technology, and that makes it possible to go back and see the sky that our ancestors saw. And if you go back, way back, to the year that we would call 2 BC or BCE, the heavens were alive with astral significance. Like in June 17, 2 BC, there was a great conjunction of the stars Jupiter and Venus. This is an exceedingly rare event where the orbits of two planets overlap so closely that they appear as one giant star in the sky. So you picture the orbits of these planets around the sun. What are the chances that 8 or 9 planets are going to align perfectly so that they appear to be one point of light from our earthly perspective? Exceedingly rare. But you know what, folks? You might remember that one happened just a few years ago, back on December 20th, 2021. Did any of you see it? It was quite an event. Well, it also happened back June 17th, 2 BC. Those who viewed it then saw it as an amazing, significant moment. But you know what? That wasn't the only thing happening, because beginning on December 1st, the year before, so 6 months earlier, Jupiter was in the sky, and it appeared together very close to Regulus. Regulus is another star in a distant constellation, and in Jupiter's orbital path, it was called a retrogression. Do you know what a retrogression is? Retrogression is when a star appears to do a little loop in the sky. You're watching it over many weeks and months, and you're following Jupiter, and it does a little loop around the star Regulus. They cross paths, and Jupiter did a little loop around Regulus in the months of December, February, and May. Now, for ancient cultures schooled in astrology, that was symbolically extremely significant, because the conjunction occurred within the constellation of Leo, the king of all the constellations. So Jupiter is the king planet, aligning with Regulus, the king star, within Leo, which is the king constellation. You're tracking with me here, right? This is what the Magi saw. Oh, but there's more. Really? Is it possible that there could be more going on in the sky at that time? Well, yes, because the moon was full on the same night as the great conjunction between Jupiter and Venus. And in the next month, there was a massing of the planets. In August, Jupiter and Mars cross paths in the night sky, and then Venus and Mercury later in the fall. And for cultures who are schooled in astrology, they see this gathering of the stars as a gathering of the gods. They're gathering for some auspicious event, like the introduction of a great ruler into the world. They certainly noticed it in Rome, because that year was a big year. It meant that the gods were gathering to celebrate the 25th year of the reign of Emperor Augustus. That's quite a coincidence, isn't it? It was also the 750th anniversary of the founding of that ancient city of Rome. So in Rome, they celebrated the divine Caesar and his great empire and the Pax Romana that he brought into the world. But the Magi, they didn't go to Rome, did they, for those great celebrations to pay homage to Caesar? No, the Magi, these professional astronomers and astrologers, they stopped in Bethlehem instead. Bethlehem, of all places. So who were these Magi? Well, they served in their king's court. They acted as advisors, as oracles. Today we have intelligence analysts instead, right? These guys were interpreting the signs in the heavens, the stars. They're studying ancient oracles. They're trying to advise their king on big decisions that he needs to make. They certainly would have treasured the prophecies of the oracle Daniel. You know him from the Bible, because Daniel had served as chief of the Magi 500 years earlier in the courts both of Babylon and of Persia. Our Daniel in the Bible. It seemed that having read Daniel and maybe other prophets from Jews who had been sent to Babylon in exile, that they recognized this star for what it was, the fulfillment of Daniel's oracles, of Isaiah's oracles. Perhaps when Jupiter first intersected with Regulus back in December 1st of 3 BC, they gathered their procession with royal gifts, and they set out as emissaries of the king of Persia. Actually, it was called, the empire then was Parthia, the king of Parthia. They made their long journey across the desert of Arabia to meet, to honor the long-promised and awaited King of the Jews. They follow that star, and they follow that star to Jerusalem, and they stop to ask directions from Herod, who was the local king of Judah. The Jewish people had waited for centuries for the promised descendant of David. And Matthew in his gospel is saying, with the arrival of the Magi, behold the king. He's born in a manger. Now, Matthew tells us Mary's story of tiny baby Jesus in the beginning of his gospel. And at the end of Matthew's gospel, we hold Jesus now, the man who had been crucified, who is now risen from the dead. He's standing on the mountain in the north of Galilee that overlooks the crossroads of the ancient world, the north-south road, the east-west road. And he's announcing, all authority has been given to me, laid upon my shoulders. And then he urges his apostles to go and make disciples of all the nations. We started this talking about advertising, buzz, going viral, where the action is. This is Jesus' marketing plan, sending 12 apostles to the four corners of the earth, teaching, baptizing, making disciples. Person to person, one person at a time, to the ends of the earth. It started so small with these 12 guys, and it has circled the globe. It kind of makes me think of an analogy. Let's say Nichols Hardware store here in Purcellville, all of a sudden going global, becoming the next Amazon, reaching every part of the world. This is what Jesus' advertising has done. This is where the action has been for the last 2,000 years. And you and I each have a role to play, don't we? You and I sharing our faith in Jesus the King with those who don't yet know him. Person to person, one person at a time, turning strangers into friends, into followers of Jesus. That's what I hope we can do together with this podcast. So like, subscribe, comment, and forward this to a friend. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.